Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video we're going to be showing you how to make epic black holes in SpaceEngine. I made a video on this before, but I kind of wanted to have like a small little update video, just to kind of not only show you how to get there, but also because I've improved a lot. And so I'm just gonna show you this quick demonstration. So this is Earth, this is the default place you can be at, right? And so we can actually go to, featured locations, maybe go to a different place if you want to, right? But what I would do is I would zoom out, right? Just go super duper fast, go really, really fast out to the galaxies, right? And basically what you do, all you got to do is just find a random galaxy, right? Let's say this galaxy, right? So if we go to this galaxy, we press G, and then we press Control G, then, and you actually press it twice to speed it up. Then what you can do, right? You're close to the center. All you got to do is just zoom in. You should see a black hole, right? And so this is a black hole, right? You can't really see much, right? But all you got to do, you just go down to the bottom corner, and you press that button, right? There's auto, manual, and HDR. Just go to manual so you can manually adjust it, right? And so this is a black hole. Now it already looks pretty good, just by default, but there are some things that you can change. And so what I'll do, I'll go to main menu, right? Go to tools, planet editor. It's under planets because this is considered a star in SpaceEngine, right? See, type star, class sun, and then spectrum X. X is what you put if you want a black hole. You can actually look at a couple settings just right off the bat, right? The mass, right? That actually changes the mass of the black hole. I don't really mess with the mass that much unless I am specifically making it incredibly big. So that way, like a nearby star, I turn that into a black hole, and it's like a dual black hole system or something. Or just some really cool systems in general, right? So what I do, I go to care spin, right? And I can change this, right? I can actually make it 0. So it's a short shield black hole where it's not spinning at all. And so it's kind of symmetrical, essentially, where it's like, it's in the direct center. And if you increase the care value, it's more like distorted, right? So you can see when you kind of go like around it, you can see it move. So that's what the care spin value does. The care spin value, it's designed to basically add spin to the black hole and kind of create this effect, asymmetrical black hole effect, right? And you can really have it really, really high. Now here it actually breaks at 0.99, right? You don't want 0.99 because it'll just look weird. Basically, the reason why it breaks is because when you're trying to ray trace a black hole using Euler integration, it still looks weird. But here, you can actually change it to higher than 1. You can make it look really weird, right? I actually stay in the 0.8s normally, or just do 0.9, right? Because that's that's the most you can get before it just looks bad, right? So I think 0.88 is a good value, 0.85, something like that, right? So yeah, but that's not really where the fun stuff is. I think the fun stuff is actually way down here at the very, very bottom. Rings and accretion disk parameters, and link disk and jet properties is something else, right? For jets. And actually, let me turn jets on so that way you can see exactly all the options you have. So jets are enabled. Apparently you can't see them. That might be for okay, that's why. Basically I had no density. So basically you turn up the density and now it looks really cool, right? You can see the clear jets. Here's what I do. I increase the start radius to where it's just barely bigger than like the black hole thing itself. Increase distortion, 0.4 is good. You can even go higher if you want, but I think 0.4 is pretty good. Start temperature and end temperature. I really don't change these, hardly ever. I change the thickness. I actually don't change the brightness really because it's kind of useless to me, right? But I do change the distortion just a little bit, you know, just to where it's not like you see this, this is high distortion. The only problem is that it makes it look too cone shaped. Like the edges aren't really like that. They're actually kind of flat. And so I just usually try and keep it at a relatively low value, like 0.4, 0.5. That's a good, you know, that's solid, right? So those are some good values, right? We can change the thickness. I love changing the thickness because, you know, if it's too thick, it kind of looks worse. I like it being relatively thin to where you can actually see the details, but not too thin to where it's like, you know, it looks weird, especially compared to the accretion disk. You kind of want it to have the same consistency or thickness or density. I'm going to actually turn up the thickness just a little bit, just to like right here. That's good, right? And this actually honestly looks really good just by itself. But what I typically do, I actually turn the jets off because I personally don't really use jets when I'm showing black holes, right? So here's what I do. So first things first, let's go to inner radius, outer radius, right? Inner radius, pretty straightforward, just changes the inner radius. Outer radius, also pretty straightforward, changes the outer radius, right? It actually changes how dense it actually appears to be. But that's mainly because of the inner and outer thickness. If it's really, really thin at like the inner thickness, then if you change the outer radius, then it's gonna appear really thin. You don't really have to worry about a lot of these things. You kind of can eyeball it, which is very useful. The thing about creating black holes that I want to mention is that you don't really need to know too much. You just have to know what stuff does. And once you know what stuff does, you can pretty easily integrate things and understand how to get the look you want, right? So that's what I'm gonna do, right? Thickness power, it does nothing. I mean, maybe it does something, but visually I can't see the difference, so I don't really care. Brightness, you know, makes it brighter or less bright. I think that would actually be more useful in like the HDR mode, where like maybe you want to display the Milky Way or something. You want to actually see all of that stuff, but you want the black hole, for example, to be much brighter. Okay, maybe not that bad, but you know, just you want it to look brighter or for some reason. Yeah, you can adjust that. I recommend keeping it at 1. Doesn't really do anything otherwise. Everything looks nice, right? But there is one trick that I mentioned in a previous video. There is one trick to make it look even better. Go to octave scale and take that, type 1, press enter. But you notice it changed a little bit. And now there's way more detail. Now, you don't always want octave scale 1. In fact, it can actually hurt the look you're going for, depending on what it is. But for situations where you want like a thin shot, you know, like this, and you don't want it to look too, you know, like that, this is the perfect setting to change. Now, twist magnitude, I'll kind of just show you what it does. So there's like, you know, this is just a bunch of stuff floating in the air, right? And then this is kind of what it looks like when it's like twisty. See? See how it's twisting like that? And if you have really high twist magnitude, it's like that. And so that's what twist magnitude does. I think having a low twist magnitude is good for a lot of shots like that. Okay, what about detail scale R? Well, R, that's radial detail. So low radial detail means, you know, trash. And then high radial detail, you can kind of see what's happening, right? A lot of radial detail. Detail scale V, kind of same thing, but up and down, right? Really useful for situations where you want it to look like there's like a bunch of bands, but you also don't want to make it look like trash, like especially if you have low twist magnitude, you know, but like really high scale V, right? Kind of looks cool, right? Okay, detail scale distortion, basically distortion. That's kind of what distortion is, right? Changing this can be useful. Sometimes it isn't, but it can be useful, right? Okay, octave scale, disk noise contrast. You can see what that does. It might be better in your case, for example, to have it at 0.95 or instead of 1, right? Kind of have it foggy, like actually have that type of foggy effect. Could be really useful in some cases, right? Especially like, you know, maybe I wanted to decrease the density, kind of have it like in the type of black hole, just stuff like that. Like it just looks epic. Like, matter of fact, let's turn down the temperature. I mean, just look at that. Looks freaking beautiful, dude. It looks awesome. You increase the noise contrast all the way, but sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you want to have that kind of effect. I mean, this just looks... Hold on, I gotta screenshot this. Wait. Oh, well, first, before I screenshot this, outer spin. Yeah, there's also disk outer spin, which kind of makes it look... It's hard to explain, but it just kind of like... You'll get it. You'll understand, like, what it kind of means, in a sense. Temp contrast, you know, temperature contrast. Basically, whether or not, like, it is contrasty that much. Based on the temperature. I recommend not going too high, because it just looks weird, like, to me personally, and it doesn't have the effect I'm looking for, right? So, right, oh, also, let's go to actual settings, visual style. Like, you have bloom, right? It looks really, really good with bloom. Looks epic with bloom. In most cases, you don't want bloom on because you can always make things look cooler in post-processing, and you don't, because in reality, the bloom button adds post-processing. That's what it's doing, right? It's literally what bloom does. It adds post-processing glow. So just add it after you record the video, just in case you, for some reason, want this to be without bloom, right? At least that's my recommendation. If you know you want bloom regardless, and you could have bloom, that's fine. Lightning bright, right? That's also a thing. And that's just beyond jets. Like, if I turn these jets off, you know, it's still something to note. So lightning bright is actually an important feature that you might want to know about, right? Also, shadow contrast. It doesn't make that much of a difference. I just leave it like up. And shadow length also kind of may make a subtle difference. And there are some insane black holes that people have made, right? But you know, that's just me, how I make black holes. I really like this. Good final result. Looks nice. That's basically how I do them. Yeah. Main menu. Go to tools. I could do camera path editor to make it an actual video. Yeah, I'm doing that. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's make it. Let's make it a video, right? Here's what I'll do. Here's how I make 4K, even though I have 1440p monitor. Just change the resolution. This is 3840. By 2160, right? Press play button, drag your cursor all the way out so that way it's not sticking in the video. Put it to the side and then do something else while it is finishing.